This is the 2023 BMW Rnine T Pure, entry-level model of the Rnine T lineup, which currently consists of 5 models. And it starts off with a Pure, goes to the Scrambler, which is a higher riding, exactly what it says it is, Scrambler model. The Urban GS, which is going to pay tribute to the R80. And then you have the Rnine T Classic, which is the adjustable suspension model and more goodies, standard, as well as their new 100th anniversary Rnine T. For the model that you're seeing here, we have a couple of modifications, so I'm just going to touch on those because they are not standard on the model. The first thing is going to be the rounded mirrors from the Urban GS model. And then for ergonomics, we decided to go with a handlebar riser from Hornig. As far as protection goes, we went ahead and went with a Puig engine guards, which actually really reasonably priced compared to what I've seen in the market. And finally, our tank ring, which are all the aftermarket items. The one factory option that we wanted to have was the tachometer, which the Rnine T Pure does not come with standard. So we're going to get a second screen that displays a couple of more bits of information, as well as being able to tell our engine speed and what gear we're in. So that was the nice addition from the tachometer. As far as styling goes, this does not look too different from the regular Rnine T Classic, which you're going to see. I think the only real visible difference between the two are going to be the upside down all-in front forks. For ours, the way we have it optioned, this is my girlfriend's bike, by the way. We went ahead and went with the factory spoked wheels, which unfortunately have to go with tube tires, so you do give up the tire pressure monitoring system. We went with the option 719 Pollux and mineral white paint, which under the sun, it is just stunning. It's like a deep emerald green, almost has a hint of blue to it, with this option 719 stripe and a white front. We also get the frame in white because of this paint choice, but I believe standard it comes in black. Added the heated grips and the low suspension as well, since she is actually more comfortable on the lower seat and getting on and off the bike, it makes it a lot easier. For this bike, we have a few competitors in the price and power range, but unfortunately it is not the best performing of them all. Between the two big boys, the Z900RS Kawasaki and XSR 900 Yamaha, those things put up a similar power figure. However, those are some serious engines, and as you've seen in the Yamaha MT-09, the XSR 900 also uses the triple, and from what I've heard, I've never been on the bike, it's supposed to get up and go. And then finally, the Ducati Scrambler 1100 models are going to be very similar in terms of power output and price range. Going to the engine's going to remain unchanged. The cylinder head's changed, but as far as emission standards go, I think they're now at Euro 5, which changes a couple of bits and pieces here. I have no idea. I'm an end user. Horsepower is still at 109, and torque will come in at 85 pound-feet of torque at 6,000 RPM. BMW wanted to keep this engine because they say it's more customizable, it's more friendly. This is the air-cooled motor out of the R1200 GS, which I think is already 10 years old, give or take. But it's a fun motor. It's kind of cruiser-like in its delivery, but it still has quite a bit of get up and go, and it is air and oil cooled. This is not a water-cooled engine that you would see in the modern R1250 GS or the R1250R RS models. For the suspension, up front, you're going to have a conventional telescopic fork. For the rear, you're going to have an adjustable spring strut with the adjustable knob. You can manually adjust the dampening. For the rear, you have also what BMW calls a paralever single-sided swing arm that also hides the shaft drive. And our low suspension option that we chose gives us a seat height of 31.1 inches versus the factory 31.7 inches. Suspension travel up front 4.9 inches and the rear 4.7 inches. So it is on paper a very comfortable bike, but you do feel the bumps. Again, I only have my F850 GS and the R18 to compare this to, so I'm kind of spoiled, but I also haven't been on many bikes like this, so I couldn't tell you how it does against the competition as far as comfort and bump absorption goes. For the front, you're going to have dual disc 4-pot Brembos, and then for the rear, you're going to have a single disc on the swing arm side, Brembo brakes. Even though it's funny, one says BMW, one says Brembo. As far as standard features go, the most important one, and please don't be too surprised, but it's going to be turn signals on the BMW, and believe it or not, it works. For the 23 model, we did not touch the exhaust, and when we took delivery of the bike, we noticed something really awesome. It's a Akrapovic pipe. Not sure what it means other than just the branding, but it's kind of nice to see that it's a factory standard option. LED lighting with BMW's Headlight Pro, which I think just has this like DRL style bit inside the headlight. Other than that, I'm not sure, besides LED lighting, what it really has as far as a benefit goes. ABS Pro from BMW, or cornering ABS is standard, traction control standard, wheelie control standard, and stability is, I think, some kind of a mixture of all of those that work together. One other awesome feature that comes from the factory is this steering fork dampener, which can definitely eliminate a lot of issues on the highway, especially if you've ever seen a dyno wobble. It's kind of nice to have a safety measure built in. Finally, the bike comes with ride modes. BMW has two. They have ride modes and ride modes Pro. The ride modes just gives you regular road and rain modes. The ride modes Pro, I think, lets you customize and adds a dynamic feature, which I guess is a more aggressive mapping. And starting price on the bike, $10,990 MSRP, which is a very competitive price considering it's a premium European brand. I think it makes for a very affordable entry into the marketplace, and actually it's right in line with the competitors I mentioned earlier. And finally, as far as comfort and ride goes, the seat cushion and the suspension are very forgiving. The seat looks very skinny, but I promise you it has a very soft ride and a very soft feel. The suspension, as mentioned, is 4.9 up front, 4.7 in the rear as far as travel goes, and not to compare to anything that's not in the class, like I mentioned earlier, on the R18 or the F850 GS. But, I mean, for what it is, I guess it's comfortable, but like I said, I'm spoiled. As far as the riding position goes, and the seating position, it's kind of funky. BMW says it is an upright, 90-degree knee angle, but for some reason, as far as the controls go, they feel a bit more rear set, but I may be wrong. I'm not too sure. I'm a little tall. I don't think I'm that tall, but at 5'10", I kind of feel like my feet are behind my knees. And then as far as the sound goes, you'll get a sound check in just a second. And finally, from a usability standpoint and economics, the fuel economy is pretty decent. It's, according to BMW, it's somewhere north of 40 mpgs. I think they are advertising 43 to 45 mpgs on an average ride. And, you know, being kind of a sportier bike, I can't really imagine everybody rides it like that, but I guess if you take care of it and just commute on it, you can possibly see 40 mpgs. And your fuel tank holds 4.5 gallons. So I'm giving you an end user's overview. I'm not a bike journalist, and I'm sure you could tell that from my channel and the way I speak about this, with some uncertainties here and there. It's a really nice bike. I think value-wise, you get a lot for what it is. The fit and finish is phenomenal. I think if BMW could change one thing about this, it would probably be to include a tachometer. That was not a cheap option. It's quite a few $100. I think it was like north of $600 to pay for the tachometer, which is a plug-and-play item, thank God. But I think it's nice to be able to know what gear you're in, where, and obviously what speed your engine's going. If you're in the market for something like this, definitely consider it. This is probably the less lively of the bikes in its class. It's, in my opinion, the best looking one. As far as comfort goes, I can't speak on it, but price-wise for what you get, you could not go wrong with something like this. And for those of you who like to modify bikes and put your own suspension, put your own, whatever you want to do as far as performance goes, this might be cheaper to do in the long run than just going with the fully adjustable suspension, upside down Öhlins shocks, Rnine T Classic model. So if you're interested, I think ours as built was around 13,000 MSRP, and I think, again, just looking at the bikes in the premium European segment, I think that's a pretty good price. Definitely worth checking out. If you haven't, do go test ride it. I think you will be surprised for what it offers. Thanks again for tuning, guys. Stick around for the sound check, and I'll see you next time.